What's up guys, welcome to the channel. On today's video we are looking at this cool WPL D12. This is my drift version. If you follow the channel you would have seen that I've made a 4-wheel drive version. I've also done a couple of videos of the stock one, loading it up, and just an unboxing review. This one however is by far my favourite build so far. And we're going to get in and have a closer look at it in a minute. I've got a little bit of footage of it as well, drifting around the skate park. I didn't get much footage and I'll talk about that in a minute. So this is a 1/10 scale Suzuki Carry or K-Truck or Bedford Rascal if you're in the UK. This came out a few months ago from WPL and there's lots of videos, lots of pictures online of what people have done to these, and there's some crazy stuff out there that's been done. I've tried to keep it simple with this. Let's come in closer and I'll give you a little overview. So we'll start with the wheels because I know that everyone has been asking about the wheels. In fact, let me take one off to show you. So this is a little Contact RC foam. I'll put a link to these in the description. Nice, wide, deep dish rim. The only problem is obviously the fixing. So I got some adapters made up. So they've got the standard 5mm hex in the back. And then they're actually made to look like a brake disc. They look really cool. If I show you that one, just about see, let me get it in the light, just about to see the brake disc behind there. Looks really cool. I had to change the front one slightly, we'll talk about it in a second. But yeah, so 3D printed brackets fitted to these, they're foams, and I've covered them in like a varnish just so that they don't have much traction for drifting, but they look awesome. Really nice looking wheel. Stick out quite far, but I think it gives it a nice stance. And the front ones, I had an issue with the front ones because they were sticking out too far. So because this has got quite a steep steering angle, I have opened up the arch, but so I had to bring them in because they were sticking out a little bit too fast. So all I did was cut the middle of the stock wheel out, slid it in from the front, hot glued it, and now front wheels don't stick out quite as far. And you can get pretty much full lock on there. It does rub a little bit because of how low it sits, but seems to work okay. Right, so before we get the body off, let's just talk about when I took it out drifting. So I've got a couple of minutes footage. We'll just talk through it now. As you can see, it's quite noisy. I've turned the volume down quite a bit, but it's quite noisy, and that's because of the gear, and that's because of what I've done to the gears in the gearbox, which I'll show you when we get the body off. But it's quite noisy. It's running brushless, and it's a little bit too slippery. These front wheels, I put the varnish on them, but they need a bit more grip. So loads of understeer, and this thing was pretty hard to control. Although do bear in mind, I was driving one-handed. It has got a gyro fitted. I was driving one-handed, that's my excuse. And I was getting quite good at it and getting the hang of it. And I think after a bit of time, it would have been all right. But you definitely need, I think, a little bit more grip on the front, just so you can control it a bit better. But yeah, running brushless. Got a couple of minutes footage, and then unfortunately the pinion gave up, so we ended it there. However, I have got you a nice little montage at the end, but as you can see, it looks really cool, burning around there. We've got Captain Boomerang in there as the driver. Let's take the body off because I'll show you a little bit more in depth underneath, and then we'll end on the montage. Battery tray usually sits there. You can see I've got a battery lead coming out there, and that goes down to the motor. Drift Duck is not just a pretty face, he is looking after the battery in there. I'm not a big drifter, I'm not completely au fait with the best way to drift. What I do know though is it is quite handy to have a little bit of weight over the back. So 2S 1100 mAh LiPo powering this brushless motor. So there we go, that is all the gubbins underneath. Quite a bit of work I've had to do under here. That's a Remo Hobby brushless motor. I've taken it out of one of my little 1/16 scale buggies. I think it's 3,300 kV It might even be 5,000 kV, but I'm pretty sure it's 3,000, either 3,500 or 3,800. The can's slightly long, so it's like a 180, 170, 180 motor size, but the can's slightly longer than what I've seen other people doing. So I've had to move the servo forward. I'm not going to take it completely apart, but that meant opening up the servo hole and just moving the servo forward only a couple of millimeters, and that allowed me to fit that brushless. Slid straight into the gearbox. I'll take that out in a minute and show you the actual gearbox of what I've done inside. 35 amp brushless ESC, nice cheap one. A link to everything in the description for this. And then just under here, probably one of the smallest receivers you've seen. It's a little radio link R4F GM, but yeah, it's got a little it's got a gyro. It's awesome and it's tiny. And ran it with the RC6 GS transmitter. You can adjust the gyro rate on here. I didn't get that far into it before it broke, and you can see I made a little just adapted a little thumb steer there, because I was, like I say, driving one-handed. Lowered the front suspension by just taking, they've got torsion bars in there. Took the torsion bar off, work out which way you got to twist it. Some people have done it slightly different to me, but I just twisted the torsion bar so it's not as springy, and that gave me the slightly lowered suspension. What's really cool about these little things, you can adjust your camber, you can adjust your toe in, toe out. You can also under here adjust your caster angle as well. So I got, like I say, I'm not massively into drifting, so I wasn't 100% sure what the best setup was. I did look online, and I think with a little bit of time I would have got used to it, but I'm just going to show you now my issue. This isn't the first time this has done it either. I've seen a lot of people running metal axles and stuff on this. I kept stock axle, stock drive shaft. They got metal gears in there anyway. All I'd done to lower it was I basically just put some spacers on the top there, and I made some little rubber bump stops there just to stop it from hitting the rear bed. So there's the motor in there, slots in there nicely, nice and easy. So here's the gearbox, and I've actually removed, there's a small gear, let's spin it around that way. There's a small gear that just goes on here, and then the pinion on the stock motor sits all the way back, and then sits on that other gear, whereas I've removed that because the pinion I've got for this motor, the one that was already on it, is actually pretty much the same. I think it's very slightly off the pitch of the I don't know, what do you call this, the main gear. So I've set it up so it actually runs on that. That's why it's a bit noisy, because it's not quite the right pitch. And the problem with this pinion on this motor, it's been on there a while, and I put it on there a little while ago. It's not the one that came with it, that's too big, but you can see it's come loose on the shaft. I did glue it, but it's come loose again, so the shaft's just spinning, and the gear's not going anywhere, and that's why we lost drive. So I need to find another way, a better way, or a better fitting pinion for this motor shaft. Pretty simple, just removing that gear, just playing about with it, making it work. And this thing's quite fast. I think I'm going to get some new foams as well that haven't got the varnish on them, and I'm going to get this thing back together, and I might do a speed run, see how fast it actually is. But so far, really impressed. Anyway, not much else to say about it. There's so many things you can do to these D12s. Massively recommend them. I'll leave a link in the description to all the parts. I'll leave a link in the description to the WPL official store. Go and show some support to them. They are really good. Best customer service out there. I'll leave links to the Facebook pages as well, Facebook groups. Enjoy the montage of my Hoonigan drift truck, and I'll see you next time.